Alright, grade 6s, here's the next part to our electricity unit. We are looking at static electricity. Likely most of you, if not all of you, have had some sort of experience with static electricity. Static means stationary or just sit on a surface. And electricity is the interaction of those electrons that we talked about in the last video. Let's use a classic example of the Heron balloon. Static electricity is caused when materials and the atoms that they're made up of come into contact, and usually by rubbing the materials together, like rubbing the balloon on your head. And that is what creates that swapping of electrons, the jumping of electrons from one atom to another or one material to another, as we also talked about in the last video. So when we rub the balloon on our head, the electrons between the two materials are jumping around. Some materials and the atoms that they are made up out of easily give up their electrons. And when an atom or that material gives up electrons, it becomes positive. And when a material and the atoms it's made up of gain electrons, that material and those atoms become negative. This positive and negative are the positive and negative charges. So when you rub the balloon on your hair, the electrons from your hair start jumping over to the balloon. Therefore, your hair becomes positively charged. And the electrons then go to the balloon. They sit on the balloon, and the balloon then becomes negatively charged. This is where the whole idea of static comes in. These charges just simply sit there on the material. They're not moving, and therefore stationary or static. Now there's two things that can happen when charges try to come into contact with one another. In the case of our Heron balloon, the hair is being attracted to the balloon. So attraction happens when we have a positive and negative charge. The other thing that could happen is called repulsion, so repelling or to move away from one another. That happens when positive charges try to come into contact with one another, or two negative charges try to come into contact with one another. So in our case of the balloon and hair, because the hair is positively charged, and because the balloon is negatively charged, the hair is attracted to the balloon. Now if you took two balloons, you rubbed one balloon on your hair, and then you took the second balloon and you also rubbed that balloon on your hair, if you were to bring those two balloons together, because they are both negative, they would repel, and you'd actually see one balloon sort of push away from the other. Something that you could try at home if you have a couple of balloons. That is the basics of static electricity. Static electricity is dependent on positive and negative charges, attraction, and repulsion. Stay tuned for the next video.